Good morning, August 15th, what we cannot see. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. Many of us claim that we have faith in God, trusting that He is real and that His promises are true. But if God asked us to act on our faith, trusting in what we cannot see, could He count our faith as righteousness? Abraham believed God's promises, even as he sat at the foot of Mount Moriah, preparing to go and sacrifice Isaac. He turned to his traveling party and said, "The lad and I will go yonder and worship, and we will come back to you." Genesis chapter 22, verse 5. Emphasis added. He trusted that God would somehow intervene and they would both come back. He knew this because God had told him that in Isaac, his seed would be blessed. He didn't know how God was going to do it, but he believed God's promise. Was Abraham righteous because he went up the mountain? No. Was he righteous because he raised the knife to take his son's life? No. Abraham was righteous for one reason. He believed, and his faith was counted unto him as righteousness. Faith is believing what God says is true, even when we don't understand how it will ultimately work out. Faith and obedience are inescapably related. There is no saving faith in God apart from obedience to God, and there can be no godly obedience without godly faith. John MacArthur. Johnny Mac. It's the nail on the head. Good evening. God remains faithful. What if some did not have faith? Will their lack of faith nullify God's faithfulness? Romans chapter 3, verse 3. Let us remember the wonderful and comforting truth. God remains faithful. If someone lets you down, you feel deeply hurt and disillusioned. You probably loudly declare you will never trust anybody again, although you mean every word. This is not usually possible, because our whole life is based on trust. Human nature is very unreliable and disappointment is common. People do not usually disappoint you intentionally, but it is something we learn to expect because of our imperfect and sinful nature. The only unchanging one in an ever-changing world is God. His promises are certain and unfailing. Since the beginning of time, people have proclaimed His faithfulness. Even though He does not always act according to our plans and desires, He proves in His own unique way that He is faithful and true. He brings His plans to pass in the lives of those who trust Him unconditionally. When clouds of doubt and sorrow threaten and when it seems as if everybody has disappointed you, hold tightly to God's trustworthiness. The clouds will disappear and you will be able to rejoice in God's faithfulness once more.